All right. Good morning once again, and thank you all for joining this webinar series. Like I said earlier, it promises to be very expository and something you would really appreciate giving your 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes for today. Just to do a quick rundown of who we are. We are Proten Technologies, situated in Lagos, Nigeria. Proten Technologies situated in Lagos, Nigeria, and we are an IT consulting firm. We have our core competences in cybersecurity and compliance, IT infrastructure, um, business intelligence, IT outsourcing, training, digital transformation. And one very big thing that is key to us is we are very client-centric in nature. We tend to be part of people's journey. We tend to grow with them as their business grow, and we tend to be a part of their journey. And today, as you can see already, the topic is very engaging, cyber threats in 2025. We all need to stay very informed. There is no room for negligence or I don't know of that nature. So we need to equip ourselves, be ready, what business need to know to stay ahead. Uh, we don't want instances of people being victims, other than we should have measures that actually get us uh, protected, or having those measures that keep us safe in our businesses, even in our personal lives. So it's very important. And to take us further into this session, we have two seasoned speakers. Solomon Aoshika is an in-house consultant, cybersecurity consultant here at Proten Technologies. In fact, he speaks security, he dreams security. He's so passionate about it, and he's been doing this for over a decade. And to also take us further into this session is Chris Tola, who is also an external consultant, who is also vast. In fact, having the passion for AI, and I think that would actually even make this session even much more interesting. As we know, the technology landscape is drastically changing, and we need to get ourselves well informed, get ourselves well prepared. And without taking too much of our time, I'll be handing over to our first speaker, Solomon Oshika, to get us started. I just want us to sit back, relax, and listen. We'll have a Q&A section just immediately after these two speakers have spoke about enlightening us, and then we'll be able to we promise to be able to attend to all of the concern or question that will be raised on this platform today. So please get yourself popcorn, sit back, relax, and then let's get started. Solomon, over to you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Hello, am I audible, please?
Yes, Solomon, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful webinar. We'll be discussing and treating what are the likely problems that businesses might face in the world of cyber for 2025. And the most important thing here is that we want to not to scare you, but to see how we can help you, and also how we can make 2025 the best of in our businesses, and making sure we get the best out of everything we're doing this year. So without further ado, we'll be looking at the cyber threats, and we're talking more about diving into four objectives. We'll be talking about understanding the evolving cyber security threats landscape for 2025. Also, we're looking at the learn the practice strategies to strengthen cybersecurity defenses. I'll be looking at how to discover and align with compliance standards effectively. And we're going to be looking at real-world examples and actionable insights. So, hi, Solomon. I'll be taking the first two, which is the understanding the evolving cybersecurity threats and learn practice strategy to strengthen cybersecurity defense. Why? Our external consultants will be taking on the discovering of how compliance standards affect, how to align with compliance standards, and real world example and actionable insights. So let's get into it. So the beautiful thing about cybersecurity is that it gives us an awareness on how what we should do and how we should protect our devices, our businesses, and everything that belongs to us. Gone are the days where people say that, oh, I don't have anything, because it's common to us in Nigeria when we say that we don't have anything someone wants to take. I don't have the money. I don't have anything, so I can be a bit negligent about my data, be negligent about my business, because there's nothing a threat actor wants to steal from me. There's nothing a threat actor want to take from me. There's basically nothing. And the most wonderful thing about it is that they don't need to take anything, and we need to start be aware that even your identity is a lot. Your identity is money. Your identity is data. Your identity is of value. And that alone can be used by anyone with a negative intent to actually use to harm you or harm someone else, as we all know it today. And gone are the days where people think that, I don't think we can get attacked in Nigeria, because right now attacks happen all over the world. And as you can see here, this is just a demographic of cybersecurity threat landscape for African region and Middle East. As you can see, Nigeria has about 35.7% of attacks that happen that's as of 2023. And from 2023 till now, it has grown rapidly. That scale is no longer a situation of if, it's now a situation of when. It's not that will I get attacked, is when will I get attacked. And businesses need to start harming themselves with the right defense mechanism to be able to stop the threat actors while or when they are trying or while they are still trying to get into the organization. And for just 2020, 2023, we're still talking about how the threat landscape was getting wider, whereby people now do what we call cybercrime as a service, where people does not even need to learn how to hack. All they just need to do is go to someone who's already offering that service, and they can actually help you attack someone or break into an organization. And we're still trying to chew on that. Came 2024, where we're not talking about AI-driven attacks that are using AI to automate phishing, self-learning malware, and zero-day exploits, and which increased zero-day exploits to about 68%. And because of that, it becomes more challenging because social engineering and phishing also increased by 86% in 2024. And with that, it's becoming a challenge. It's become a challenge for businesses to stay aware of threat actors, because if they are not well protected, then they're going to have issues with their businesses and things that are value to them. Now, and even in the cloud space, there was about 67% confirmed weak and stolen credentials um, as a top cloud attack vector, which works with a lot of misconfiguration, storage, and API exploitation. And cyber workforce shortage also happened about 67%. And all this is to let us understand that it's not about will I get attacked, it is about when. And if we don't protect ourselves, we might actually fall into the prey of these bad actors. And that's why we're looking at two major things for 2025 will be the emerging cybersecurity threats and insider threats to see how this would, because from 2024 into now, we are seeing more sophisticated AI attacks, whereby you can tell a ChatGPT or a DeepSeek to say, hey, create me how to penetrate into an organization, and it's going to generate you the step by step on how that attack chain will go. And for an organization that is not well, that their defenses in the cyberspace is not well equipped, they can easily fall prey to people who are even just testing their skills, not even just about maybe they're trying to steal something, they can even damage in the process of trying to test their skills. So for 2025, we're looking to see a lot more of AI-powered attacks, whereby cybercrime where cybercrime are increasingly using artificial intelligence to automate phishing campaigns, build convincing deepfake for deception, and detect system weakness more quickly. And because of AI, now AI is a tool. Like I said, AI is a tool. Depending on whoever is using it, it can be a good or a bad tool. So the way AI is helping us to do better in our business, it can also help the threat actors to actually get to carry out their attack more faster and quickly. And also the ransomware evolutions. Now attackers increasingly use double extortion tactics, uh, encrypting data while threatening to disclose vital information, and in addition to more complex measures or to enhance impact. And these are the things that we need to look like, that we need to let businesses to understand that come 2025, we're going to be seeing a lot of this type of attacks and more. And we need to let people to know that it is time to wake up. It's time to be active than reactive. It's time to start knowing who is in your organization, who is in your data, who is in your network, who is working around in your cloud services. And also another thing we'll be talking about here to harm ourselves is insider threats. And basically we have about three. We have malicious insider, which just deliberately damaging. We have negligent employees. We have careless, who are just doing careless activities and unintentional threats. And the prevalent and cost is this because insiders threats are on the rise, posing substantial financial and reputational hazard to organization. And incidents are frequently the result and the insufficient awareness of internal controls. So another thing we need to look about is that people believe that they are more likely to get attacked from an outside source than from internal. And actually, we have seen a lot of cases whereby more people, more businesses, more organizations got attacked due to either negligence of an employee or a disgruntled employee, one way or the other, or someone just being careless about some information and so on and so forth. So to break that down, we'll be looking at cyber threat types, an example of recent threat landscape that happened in Africa and Nigeria as a whole. And for example, in 2024, a Nigerian financial firm reported phishing email created by AI that replicated official company correspondence, resulting in credential theft and unlawful transaction. Now, that's example of someone using AI to actually enhance a phishing email. Now, some people already understand that, when I'm looking at an email, I must check the username, I must check the email, where is it coming from, the security. And now it's AI is even making it more difficult for people to make it seem more real, and whereby you will not be able to differentiate an real mail from an actual phishing email. Another example was that a deepfake scam, whereby a deepfake video of a Nigerian CEO was used to authorize fraudulent wire transfer, resulting in considerable financial losses. So that means someone was able to use the CEO's video, created a video using the CEO's face, and maybe speak to the financer and say, hey, you know what? I want you to wire about so X amount of dollars into an account. And I'm very sure the accountant seeing his boss face will do that without even thinking like, oh, I don't need any other, I don't think I need um, any other authorization. Seeing you speak to me directly is like an authorization. And that's one of the reasons why we need to understand that we need to educate people, educate personnel about verification methods that can help prevent such instances. Like, okay, even though if you are telling me like, do this, I still need you to verify that you are the one, and doing putting this in due process and policies. And another one is that a lot of automated exploit has been happening in South Africa, and AI techniques were used to swiftly scan the weakness in public service portal, causing key service to be disrupted due to unauthorized access. And the impact was severe because it caused a serious disruption and the public distrust in digital infrastructure. Now we need to understand that, like I said earlier, it's not about money. It can be a company working against another company to pull you down. It can be someone trying to steal your information. It can be competition. Because people use cyber attacks to cyber threats to not only gain money, or it's not about money anymore. Sometimes it's about competition, organization. We all see how Coca-Cola and Pepsi kind of use adverts to say who is the best. People go as far as using cyber threats to, harm themselves to better get ahead of their competitors. So let's look at more examples in this space. A double extortion in telecommunication. Now, a major Nigeria telecom service was targeted by ransomware attack, who encrypted data and threatened to release user record unless a ransom was paid. And we'll be getting, even in Nigeria currently, we'll be getting a lot of ransomware attacks. It's being more frequently. It's not only maybe for banks or telecoms, it's happening across all sectors, from hospitals to fintech to logistics to, as long as you have something of value to the threat actor, you are a target. It's not a situation whereby I'm an hospital, there's nothing. Even if even people target hospitals more, especially high-end hospitals, because they feel like they have information about the top tier people, like the elites who are coming into the organization for one medical record, and maybe the world doesn't want to know. So that means a politician can decide to attack a hospital just to get information about is someone that is competing with, to maybe derail him or try to get ahead. And that's for that hospital, people are going to lose trust. People will not want to go there to do business with them anymore. And another example is an healthcare was targeted in Kenya, and the ransomware attacked Kenya hospital, preventing crucial patient treatment until the ransom was paid. And the impact was that library at risk and healthcare organizations are under financial burden. Now, we're all putting all this together to keep us aware, to make us understand that it's, like I said earlier on, it's not about how we're going to get attacked, it's about when are we going to get attacked. And also another one is an SME in Ghana, which was also attacked. The small firm in Ghana was subjected to ransomware attack that destroyed financial records and creating operational distrust. That's to say that even small businesses are not left behind in this attack, in this threat landscape. So to look more on that, the first one we've explained was about the threat landscapes of cyber attack. Now let's look at insider threat types. Now, insider threats are often overlooked, but have serious consequences due to lack of awareness. And this is where we're letting each organization or each employee understand that cybersecurity is not only the work of the network engineer or the owner of the company. It's a work of everyone. Everyone needs to stay aware. Everyone needs to understand that it's a collective job to be able to protect our organization. Now, employees, like I said, employees frequently underestimate the risks of insider threats, assuming that attack solely comes from external adversaries. Now, let's look at this stereotype. We have negligent insiders. An employee at a Lagos microfinance bank accidentally download malware from a phishing email exposing customer financial information. We in Nigeria, we already know what that could lead to, because just right now there's this thing trending that everybody says that, oh, do you go and check your name to make sure that there's no number added to your name, because like I said, you can come here and say, I don't have 59 in my account, even though if my credentials was leaked, there's nothing. No, yes, if your credential was leaked, someone can use you as a scapegoat of an attack. Someone can use your identity to as the fall guy for an attack that is carried out. That's why we can see how all this is both talking to everyone, not just businesses, but just everyone, to understand that we need to prepare ourselves and we need to harm ourselves in the best possible way. Another malicious insider, a unhappy employee of an African IT firm, sold secret data to competitor, resulting in revenue loss. I've explained this all earlier also. There's even a higher chance of greater risks from an insider threat than a cyber threat, because the cyber threat is trying to even penetrate into the organization. It's trying to penetrate, but someone who is already inside is already having access to a lot of information, having access to some data, some cloud apps, some cloud services, and a little mistake from an insider can actually cause a lot more harm than someone trying to hack in from outside. And this also leads to cost and prevalence, which is that insider threats account for more than 60% of security breaches in many African enterprises, owing to lax access control and lack of oversight. So we are trying to let us know that it is important for us to understand that cybersecurity is a must for us to look into as we go further in this 2025, making our business and making our money. We need to start thinking about cybersecurity. We need to start thinking, how am I going to protect my data? How am I going to be? How am I? As much as we're trying to build businesses, trying to make more revenue in 2025, it's time we now to start thinking like, how would I secure those revenue? How will I make sure that the little I have or the little I'm trying to get more is secure and is not falling into the wrong hands? So looking at one more examples of insider threat types, a fintech, an insider exploited a financial software in Nigeria, leaking API keys that enables fraudulent transactions. And the key takeaway to that is that we need to secure internal procedure and monitor privileged access. Another one is a tiny logistic company in Kenya lost client trust after ransomware encrypted shipment record. And so even small and medium-sized businesses are even more kind of the target right now, because they know that attackers know that small and medium businesses go for grants. They get a lot of grants, get a lot of money to startup funds, and people are actually looking into them to get that money away from them. So we need to be able to protect that part. And even our government agencies also need protection. And a hacked government portal in Ghana due to an insider weak password led to a sensitive citizen data exposure. I don't want to go into it because of data regulations. I've gone to some government parastatals, and you'll be shocked at how your data, how your information are stored, and how they even careless about those things. And it's important for us to know that we need to put this out there for businesses to understand that not protecting your business is at a huge risk and at a huge loss to the revenue. Because the funny thing is that if someone's going to get an attack in a company, it's not like it's going to happen in an instant. A bad actor, a threat actor can linger in your organization, in your network for months, planning his attacks, trying to break all the things they need before it makes sure, because when they attack, they want to make sure that they can get their money. They want to make sure that they are eating a heavy blow on the organization. So let's look at practical strategies to strengthen cybersecurity defenses. So organization must take a multi-facet approach that includes utilizing cutting-edge technologies, educating employees, and implementing preventive measures to create a strong cybersecurity framework. And this is like a way to say that we've talked about the threats out there. Now, how are we going to protect ourselves? So we're going to looking at one of the we're going to be going in step by step on how to do this. So for every organization out there, we need to conduct comprehensive risk assessments. That means to determine essential assets, vulnerabilities, and potential threats. To know what exactly is going on within your network, within your organization, within your infrastructure. And one beautiful thing about risk assessments is gives you a view of how vulnerable you are, not only as a maybe in the network side, but as your employees. Because when you do risk assessment, it's not only done on the network, it's done both on the network and the employees to see who's your weakest link, to able to patch that up as soon as possible. Another one is to implement layer security measures. Now, to prevent threats at the perimeter, we need to deploy solutions like firewall, IDS and IPS. We need to deploy antivirus software. We need to deploy MDR, XDR, which is managed detection and response. We need to have a lot of SIEMs. We need to have a lot of network detection and response, so that we can have all the tools possible to have visibility into the organization, to see who is doing what and what exactly everyone is doing. And for hospitals, need to stay compliant with the HIPAA and also with the NDPR, which is Nigeria regulation, and so on and so forth. And also for those who have a lot of presence in the cloud, we need to use cloud-based security tools, which is going to give us a real-time threat detection. Cloud-based technology enables continuous monitoring and notification. because your infrastructure is not within you, so you need something that will help you to keep on monitoring and get notification as how things are progressing in your cloud premises. Now, and one of the other thing, not last, one of the other thing that's very, very important is regular employee training. Now, awareness is key. Awareness needs to be emphasized on, because the greatest link for any cyber attacks is human being, because we are the greatest weakest link. We can go about sharing information about an organizations, in the moment of maybe we are joyful or sad. And the most annoying part is that we don't know who's listening. We don't know who is taking that information and use it to harm themselves, to maybe retaliate against the company or do one of that sort of thing. So regular employee awareness is one more thing that is very, very important. And the goal is to educate personnel on cybersecurity best practices, such as spotting phishing emails, adopting secure password, and we need to conduct quarterly training sessions with simulated cyber attack as a process. So also one of the other things that we need to do, we're going to talk about in a very quick note, is like we need to enforce a zero trust architecture. So when we talk about zero trust architecture, is about unlike those days where we use VPN. VPN is good, but VPN is actually starting to phase out, because VPN give you access to everything within a server and everything. But with zero trust architecture, it's verify explicitly who you are, where you're logging from, what do you want on the server, how long do you want to stay on the server, even to the point, the moment it notifies a malicious behavior, it cuts off the links. And this is good for people who have a lot of remote users out there, or when you have third parties that are logging into your environment. Now, giving them having a zero trust architecture within your organization will help you mitigate the risk of getting attacked due to anybody's negligence or a third party negligence. And when someone who is logging into your infrastructure is compromised, this architecture can actually detect it with the AI powered technology it needs to cut off the connection before any harm can be done. And another one is this, that updates and patches needs to be done regularly. And the reason for updates is to able to fix known vulnerabilities. Regular updates software, firmwares, and operating system, uh, patch patch all known vulnerabilities as soon as they are discovered. Not doing updates is actually putting you at a huge risk, because, excuse me, the reason for the update is because someone somewhere, either a threat actor or the organization themselves, has discovered a vulnerability in their software, or maybe there's a backdoor and there's a need. The update is trying to fix that solution, that software, to make sure that people don't use that to get into our organization. And another one we'll be talking about is which I've actually emphasized on. We need to monitor third-party vendors, because right now there's no how you're going to do businesses that you're not going to need someone somewhere or other businesses to actually carry out your businesses. And because of that, you need to make sure that the third party also are secure, you know. And you can't always guarantee how a third party company is going to secure their company, because you're not there. But you can lay down the groundwork that if you're going to work with me, I need you to have XYZ set up. I need you to, this is how you can integrate with my own infrastructure. Like I was explaining earlier in zero trust architecture, this is really necessary because supply chains have frequently targets vulnerabilities in third-party vendors. And another thing, we have to automate security process, use automated threat detection and response to reduce reaction time, deploy AI-based solution for pattern recognition and anomaly detection. Now, all these are the ways that we can use to harm ourselves, better protect ourselves against the threats that are out there in 2025. And lastly, which I'm going to be talking about before I call in our other speaker to take it up from here, is performing risk evaluation. We need to do this a lot. We need to perform a lot of risk evaluation, and we can do this by identifying a blind spot. to identify weaknesses before they are exploited. Proactive risk assessment is a methodical analysis of an organization resources, vulnerability, and possible threats. And how do we do this? How do we identify this blind spot? We do that by checking our IT infrastructure and sensitive data, which is asset mapping is the process of identifying vital resources that require security, such as we need to constantly do something like we call vulnerability assessments, IT audits, check our sensitive data, do a lot of play along a lot of DLP, data loss prevention, to make sure that our assets are secure. Another known one is threat analysis, which is about analyzing possible attack vectors such as ransomware and phishing, so can be carried out within an organization. And lastly, we have to find the hidden weaknesses in system, procedure, or human behavior, which is also known as gap identification. So all these are the things that we need to put together as an organization, as a business, irrespective if you are working, irrespective of the area you're working on, be it hospital, be it government, be it fintech, be it logistics. As long as you are using IT, as long as you're using the modern technology, then you need to stay ahead of cyber threats for 2025. Thank you. We'll come back for questions and answers after my other speakers go on and kind of from there. Crystal, are you ready for us?
Yeah, Solomon, thanks for that wonderful presentation. I think I'll just go on with your slides, if you don't mind.
Oh, that's fine.
All right, so let's talk about how to align compliance standards effectively. Why do we need to align compliance standards effectively? There are various reasons for these regulations in the first place. The most important one is to provide data privacy, to ensure that your data is properly secured across all areas, to ensure that providers don't abuse your data for their own personal gains, right? That's one of the major reasons this regulatory standards have been enforced, and we need to also comply with them. So if you could switch, Solomon, to the next slide. All right. So when there's a data breach, one of the things we notice is that a lot of companies would have to face huge fines from the regulatory bodies. Companies may also get sued by the customers. Companies definitely would lose business. If you are quoted on the stock exchange, your price will fall drastically, and there's a chance that you will not get repeat business because you're in the news for the wrong reason. So a lot of things will go wrong if there's data breach. So in order to prevent data breaches, so a lot of these compliance bodies, the regulatory bodies, have provided guidelines to help organizations stay safe, right? So some of those guidelines have been provided by the NDPA 2023, like Solomon had mentioned earlier. This is the Nigeria Data Protection Act 2023. It's been signed into law, and it's being enforced currently. I was checking just last week. About a couple of companies in Nigeria have been fined up to 200 million naira. A popular bank was fined about 500 million naira last year for lack of compliance. They're currently investigating about 100 private organizations right now in Nigeria. About 100 of them are being investigated right now, and if they are guilty, the fine is around 10 million naira or 2% of your annual revenue, whichever is more. So in most cases, it's usually more than 10 million naira. So that's a lot to pay for someone's mistakes. And one of the things we've seen here is for data breaches to occur, there usually has to be some willing insider. I think Solomon mentioned that several times. So there's always this insider who makes a mistake, maybe sends a confidential email to the wrong recipient, they don't encrypt their files or stuff like that. So a lot of times it has to do with someone making that costly mistake that then leads to a huge fallout for the organization. So financial impact is huge. Reputational damage is also huge from what we've seen, and we now need to take that much more seriously. So what we'll suggest is to ensure that compliance becomes part of your company culture, right? So it's compliance by default now, not as an afterthought. Solomon also recommended, training employees is very important. We've seen that most of those breaches happen because users make mistakes. You receive a phishing link, you click on it. You receive a voice call asking for your code, you provided it. You send a confidential email to the wrong recipient. So humans need to be continually educated from time to time. You also need to ensure that you enforce some of the controls that have been outlined in some of these regulations or guidelines. Like we've seen guidelines from NIST, for example. We've seen guidelines from CIS. We've seen from GDPR, from NDP, PCI DSS, HIPAA. You need to enforce these controls. What are these controls? Controls have to do with telling you what should be allowed or not to be allowed in terms of best practices. USB flash drive, for example, should be limited. You should encrypt all confidential data. You should restrict access to data. You provide least privilege access to users. So if you don't need a certain permission, if you need read only, you shouldn't be getting read or write, for example. Some of the controls that need to be enforced, by the organization. So data encryption is one of them. Encrypt all drives, flash drives, or even laptops as well. Encrypt those drives so that even if there's data theft, if there's a physical media theft, the thief or whoever gets hold of that medium or media, as it were, will not be able to access the content that could lead to a data breach and then you getting fined. So all of these things have to be done. One of the things with NDPA, for example, is that you need to have your own data protection officer. That will be your compliance officer that will liaise with the governing body called the NDPC. That's Nigerian Data Protection Commission from time to time. So they will be the ones to ensure compliance and then file the data audits every 15th of March of every year. So as an organization, for example, within a month's time, you're expected to have filed your annual data audit. Otherwise, you could also be fined. And also you need to monitor regularly all the updates from the compliance bodies and adapt your policies accordingly. Right. So let's go to real world examples. If you could, yeah, thank you. So let's look at the practical strategies that we can use, and also I'll give you a few examples in real life. Now, the most common method of data breaches, as we've seen, is from phishing. That's social engineering. Phishing is a subset of social engineering. Social engineering basically has to do with human emotion and manipulating people, especially causing misdirection and trying to make people make mistakes, so to speak. Right. So that's what social engineering does. And phishing is the most common example of social engineering. The most common way to roll out phishing is through email, as we've seen. So email is the most important one. That's why you need proper email security, proper email etiquette, right? So with phishing emails, you would get the mass phishing, where you get a broadcast like "Dear customer," or you'll get the spear phishing, where it's specific to your name. So they will say, "Dear Solomon." That means they've researched you, they've checked you out on LinkedIn or your social media profiles or your activity. So they have an idea of who they're dealing with. So it's much more customized now. And then we have the whaling, which is the one where they go for the C-level, the executive, the HR managers, CEOs, CFOs, like the example Solomon gave. Those are the whaling. They target specific people. Then, of course, we also have the BEC, which is like the worst of them all. I'll probably say it's the worst cyber attack you can experience: business email compromise. We call this the hush puppy type of attack, because hush puppy was very good with that kind of cyber attack. So business email compromise, the attackers, this is different from email spoofing, where they kind of like send you an email that looks like from your own domain. No, this is the attackers properly taking over a legitimate account. So they have username and password. They've configured SMTP, on another client. So they are sending emails just like you're sending emails. So they are seeing the emails you are sending. They can delete emails. So if they send, they delete the email, so that when you go to your sent items, you don't see it anymore. They can even go back to your email trail from like 2-3 years ago, and then send an email to one of the suppliers saying, "We've changed our account number. This is the new account that we want you to transact with us. So update your CRM," right? Because it's coming from an email trail from like 2 years ago, the recipient assumes that it's coming from the same person or the same designated person, and they enforce that. So BEC is the worst kind of social engineering attack that you can find. Right. So that's phishing. Another type of phishing attack is that's email phishing rather. Another type is what we call the SMS phishing or smishing. This is becoming very rampant, especially in personal life. You get an SMS saying the government is giving you some subsidy or palliative. Call this number to claim. Call this number to claim the gift or whatever. Right. So that's happening a lot. It's also happening in the corporate environment. Also, you get an SMS from your boss saying, I'm on break, and I don't have access to my ERP. I need this login to be sent to someone, please send it. So because it's coming from a number that looks like your boss's number or it sounds believable, you go ahead and do it, right? And the problem is that a lot of us tend to respond more to SMS and chats even than emails, right? So you feel like it's more legit. You get a better reaction from that, and that's a major problem. So when you get the key thing with understanding phishing is that when something is too good to be true, something is urgent, is asking you to do something immediately, it's trying to force you, or I don't know, use the force, trying to guilt trip you into helping someone, it's most likely phishing, right? Even if it's coming from your own colleague, you could get a message from let's say your mom, since she's at the market, she's trying to buy something, it's just 50,000 naira, and now she's stuck because the app is not working. Please transfer money to the seller or the trader, and then she sends you the account number of the trader. So that's how phishing works, because a lot of people would have fallen for that. I'm going to talk about the prevention tactics later, but sometimes you have to double check before you make these decisions. Another type we're seeing also is called phishing. Phishing is becoming rampant. Phishing is voice phishing, where you get a call. I'm sure most of us have experienced that before. You get a call from the bank saying they have your BVN, they have your mother's maiden name, they pretty much have everything about you to convince you that they're calling from the bank. But then they're asking you for your ATM pin, your debit card pin. So you start wondering, if you have all these details, how come you don't have my debit card pin? Yeah, well, nobody has your debit card pin, not even the bank staff who print out the cards. They don't have your pin. The pins are not saved anywhere. So that's why they're calling you to use social engineering to make you lose your guard, to make you believe they are legitimate. So they're giving you information that they found on the dark web, pretty much. Because for most Nigerians, your NIN, your BVN, they're pretty much on the dark web. So if anyone calls you with such information, your mother's maiden name, even your date of birth, don't fall for it. They already have all those details, right? What they need is that debit card pin that nobody has, and there's no record of it. So these are the ways phishing attacks work. They're basically social engineering, trying to make you think that they are legitimate people, like they're your colleagues, they are your family members, they are bank account managers, they're your friends. They're trying to make you believe that, and you could easily fall for that. Also, because like Solomon has mentioned, the threat landscape has evolved, has really, really advanced. You can't even trust anything anymore. So you might get an email from someone even from your colleague, from your CEO, your HR. It could even be legitimate from their account. But you have to now begin to look at context of every email. Is this actually true? Is this needed of me? Is it taking something from me? Do you have to provide something? Do you have to provide information? Do you have to provide, details? Do you have to send money? Anything that is requesting something extra of you, you need to switch to defense mode immediately. And that takes us to the prevention tactics. So we need to teach people how to spot common phishing indicators. So if you see URLs that you're not used to, you see domains that are kind of like off. In some cases, they could change I to an L, or they could change O to A, right? Because they know that a lot of people would not look at those things critically before responding or providing that information. So you have to be extra careful when an email is requesting something from you, or the email is asking you to click on something. It could be an attachment that they ask you to download. We've even seen some high-level phishing where they put QR codes in these attachments, right? So you open a QR code and they ask you to scan. You open an attachment, it's a QR code, you scan with your phone, and then you click on it. The idea is to take you away from an area where you're protected, like your laptop has an antivirus, so they don't want the antivirus to catch them. So by scanning that QR code with your phone, you can then get attacked on the mobile phone where you do your banking applications, and stuff, receive your SMS. So there's more to gain from getting your phone than even your laptop, right? So these are the kind of things they want. So be very careful where something takes you out of your email, like your URL, a QR code, or an attachment that asks you to enable, macro. These are ways that the ransomware or the spyware gets delivered to you. Like Solomon also mentioned, again, we can't stress this enough. You have to continually train people. Human beings are always the weakest links when it comes to cybersecurity. So organizations spend a lot of money on firewall, antivirus, email gateway, what have you. Human beings are always the weakest links. And unfortunately, human beings are now facing attackers who are using artificial intelligence. Solomon mentioned deepfake. The deepfake is so prevalent right now that it's even difficult for you, even for cyber experts, to tell the difference between a deepfake and an original and a true fake, right? And a true video. It's so bad right now. Even in phone calls, video calls, the attackers are able to use deepfake to make video calls. So you might be having a video call with someone that has your mother's face or your colleague's face, but it's deepfake video. It's not real. They're using the same voice, your colleague's voice. They're using the video mannerism, everything is almost the same because they've stored it. Because everybody posts pictures online, right? You post pictures on social media, on YouTube or what have you. So an AI can analyze that and create your persona, so to speak, that attacker can then leverage and call you. You could even receive phone calls from a number that looks like that actual number. But there are ways to counter deepfake. Yeah, one of them I strongly recommend is to do MFA. Do a human MFA. For example, ask the person that's calling you, where were we last Tuesday? Let's say you were at the bar on Tuesday. Where were we last Tuesday around 6 p.m.? The person probably would not know. If that's assuming you did not post it online, because that's another thing. A lot of us, over post on the internet. So ask something that is not on the internet that nobody knows. If it's your friend from way back, ask him. Where do we go to play after school? Back in 2010. Right. So so you have to do this multi-factor authentication to be sure that the person you're talking to is the right person. If it's your parent, ask your parent questions from way back as well. So there are ways to double check right now. Don't use the same medium the person used to contact you. So if the person contacted you through SMS, don't reply that SMS. Pick up the phone and call. If the person sent you a WhatsApp message, and it's business, use Microsoft Teams, to reach back. If it's email, don't reply the email and ask, is this true? Because it's already hacked, right? So use a different medium to confirm. I wish we could go a lot more into this, but because of time, I have to skip to the next one. So Solomon, next, skip to the next. So let's talk about incident response. Phishing is one of the ways that ransomware is delivered, right? So for ransomware to be delivered, there are several stages, right? So one of the stages is for the attacker to have a leg into the environment. It could be through your third-party contractor. So let's say you give your contractor VPN access to your infrastructure, let's say your cloud infrastructure or your servers, or you give them RDP access, could be external or internal RDP, right? If your contractor is compromised already, so they have an attacker that's taken over their machine. So whatever they're connecting to, that means the threat is already extended to that. Now, your contractor is managing your core application. They are the ones building, let's say from India, for example, right, where you have a lot of developers. So if this person's device is already compromised, they have admin access into your network. They can log in through RDP. That means the attacker could easily take over, your infrastructure. Now, once they're already on the network, unfortunately for a lot of us, we depend on VPNs, right? VPNs give users full access to the entire network segment, so to speak. So there's a server LAN, for example, they can run tools like Kali Linux, they can run Wireshark, once they're on that particular network. So it gives them extreme access, which it shouldn't. We recommend you use ZTNA instead of that. Now, those are ways that attacker can then get a foothold into the organization. At this point, there's no malware. They're not running any malware. So if you're depending on, firewall, depending on antivirus, depending on, some AI techniques, you may not discover them because they are doing legitimate stuff that an admin would do. Legitimate stuff like, create a new admin account or disable an account or elevate an account's privileges or create a scheduled task so that whenever you restart the system, something runs all the time, like Google Update or Microsoft Update. These are legitimate stuff that an admin will do. So that's why you need to elevate your preparedness to the level of detection and response. So you can't depend on protection anymore. You have to be able to detect those micro activities that will then be correlated with external sources, further sources like the email, your email security, your firewall security, your cloud security, even your identity. So if there are multiple failed logins, that's a red flag. It should trigger a detection. And when there's a detection, it means there could be a false positive. That means someone needs to be able to investigate and check and say that, okay, this is a false positive or is a true positive. If it's a true positive, that means it's real. It needs to be responded to immediately. So when it comes to the ransomware itself, ransomware is a kind of malware that could encrypt your files or could steal your files and ask you to pay a ransom. In any case, a ransomware has to do with you paying money before the threat goes away. The threat never really goes away. So even if you pay money, they would give you decryption key, but then they may have stolen your file that they can then come to blackmail you with. That's what we're seeing. But the good news is most companies are not paying this ransom anymore, because most of them have a way to back up and restore. So if you're going to create backups, you have to also create offsite backups, and you have to test your backups regularly. A lot of companies, they created backup, they didn't test them. So when it was time to restore the backups were either corrupt or they were, too far away to get so they would have lost some business data. So it's very important for you to have the backup plan and also test it regularly. Against ransomware also, it's important to have what we call a cybersecurity incident response plan. This response plan will detail what needs to be done when there's a cyber attack, especially when it comes to ransomware. Who needs to be contacted? What are the critical assets that need to be recovered first? What are the steps you need to take immediately to reverse course and recover the business? So all of these things should be detailed inside that cybersecurity incident response plan. Now, what this also means is you need to be running your own SOC, Security Operations Center, in a way, right? So you must have your own way to have a SOC where you have threat analysts, malware analysts, SOC analysts working full time, 24/7. Again, this is not going to be 9 to 5, because what we've seen is ransomware attacks happen 10% during work hours, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. 90% of ransomware attacks happen outside of work hours, right? So if you're going to have a SOC, your SOC cannot be 9 to 5 with one or two people. You have to be running shifts. You have to prepare to be running shifts. That means you need to have skills that will be available 24/7, morning and night. That's how to run a SOC if you really want to prevent against ransomware attacks. So these people at the SOC have to be able to have the skills to be able to detect, analyze, investigate, and respond if required. Even if they can't do incident response, they can still do threat response, which is basically containment. Containment is not bad. With containment, what you're doing is to prevent lateral movements, prevent escalation of that attack. So you're restricting the attacker to what they've done. You're isolating them from the network. You are quarantining them. You are blocking IP addresses. You're blocking hash of file that they're using. Basically making it difficult for them to do anything else. The idea is to buy enough time for proper incident response, which then comes into the stage 5 you can see it, which is eradication, and which that does the cleanup, root cause analysis, what happened, how did they get in the first place, how can we prevent this from happening in the future, and then recovery, where the business finally recovers after all that is done. So containment is not bad. If your SOC can be trained to at least get up to containment level, that's good enough. But the challenge here is it's very difficult to find those skills. That's why you need to work with a trusted advisor, trusted partner, like Proten Tech, for example. These are seasoned experts that can help you, guide you on how to set up your own incident response plan, help you with advisory on how to provide the response services that you need, right? So response is not something you do by yourself. You can't do it. If your plan is, when there's a ransomware attack, I'm just going to format all the systems and recover my backups. That's a very, very bad way to go about it, because the attackers are already in your backups. So when you restore the backups, you are restoring the attacker, and now they are going to be wiser because they now know what you fall back to, right? So it's very, very difficult to get rid of them on your own. You need a trusted advisor, you need a trusted partner. You don't have to build your own SOC either. There's no point, building a SOC from scratch. It's very expensive. So talk to a trusted advisor like this to help you set up a SOC. You can have an instant SOC where they can manage those services for you. That's the best way to work, really. And then they can report to your own cybersecurity team. You can have oversight of what they're doing, the daily reports. If there are cases, how were they resolved? What was the diagnosis? What was the analysis? Was it a true positive? Was it a false positive? How do we suppress this? That's the only way to work smart in 2025. So you can't really do cybersecurity by yourself. You need trusted partners to help you through the cybersecurity journey. I wish there was enough time for us to dissect all of this, but we also have to respect, everyone's time so we can all go back to work. Right now, if you have questions, if you have contributions, please feel free to lay them out. Thanks, Solomon.
Thank you, Tola. Thank you, Solomon. You did great. Please, we are very open to questions and answers at this time. If you have questions, you could maybe send a chat, or you may just want to signal by raising your hand. I'm sure I could feel the pulse in us. It sounds very scary, but these are our reality, and it's not for us to be scared. It's for us to take actionable steps we should not find ourselves being the victim. I think that's a very terrible state. We'd like to take questions at this time. So if you have questions, I'd like to see questions in the chat. You may want to raise your hand to use the mic if you want to speak. Like I said, the pulse looks very, it sounds scary, but then this is our reality. So let's not get scared. It's for us to man up, address it, do a reevaluation of what are we doing, what have we not even started doing, and let's see how we could do something very different. There's no, there's no, there's no. I don't know. It's not. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. It's not a best strategy. So, we'd like to take questions at this time, please.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Would you like to
Yes,
know your
my
name?
name is,
Yeah, please.
yes, good afternoon. So, for the GDPR, that's for the data protection and analysis. I'm just wondering, is there any reason for us to follow? Are they just rules for one to like what is it? Are they just rules to follow, or is there any need to code for those rules?
If I got the question correctly, yes, there is a document on the NDPA that's been released, the PDF. If you Google it, you might be able to find it as well. So there are guidelines there as well. Like I said, every regulation would have controls. These are the things they expect to put in place. It's not guaranteed, it's not foolproof. But when they're auditing you, they will audit you against, those guidelines that they've given. For example, if they've said that encrypt your confidential files, documents, and you need to provide a paper trail that you've actually done that. If there's a breach and they now audit you and they found out that you did not encrypt those files at the time they were stolen, then you're going to be punished, right? So those rules are there, and you need to follow them to be sure that you won't be fined when there's such a data breach.
All right, thank you,
Hope
sir.
I answered your question. Yeah.
All right. I also see some asking would the recording be shared? Yes, we would have a recording link shared to all registered participants. Would have a sent to your various email addresses. Any other question? It's 12:02 from here. Any other question? So it's been a very expository and very wonderful session today. Like I said, I feel the pulse in house to be very quiet, and I think everyone is trying to think of the best way to navigate what the whole threat presents to each and every one of us. The threats are very real, but then it's not for us to get. Okay, sorry. Okay, I think there's a question in the chat. I want to have it Proten gives training for aspiring cybersecurity. Yes, we do. We offer training services also. So if you are interested, we'll be sharing. We have our social handles and our email address. You could actually reach out to us, and we could take that from there. Um, so like I was saying, it's not for us to find ourselves to become a victim, but then let's take actionable steps. I'm sure a lot has been. If we can sit on this call and discuss forever, there's a whole lot to cover. There's a lot to talk about. But then the most important is, what will you do different? What will I do different? The threats out there are very real, and it's even taking different dimension. AI is now even being used. It's even difficult to almost detect. But what would you do different? What would I do very different? It's been very great having all of us join this session, and I want to say thank you to everyone that has joined, and we look forward to having you again in the next section. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.